Hey my friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're test driving the 2016 Lexus RX350 F Sport. Now the RX, it's been one of the most popular models in the Lexus showroom ever since it arrived. And for 2016, it's redesigned with even more to like. So let's check it out. Now because we have the F Sport, this is the most aggressive looking model in the RX lineup, and with the F Sport you get a completely different front end here. It's got a lower grille, the lower fascia is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more sporting, and it has the F Sport mesh grille here. It's a little bit more, well, some people would call it severe than the standard RX, and it's actually quite a controversial design. There's a lot of people that love it and a lot of people that hate it. Now over here, the headlights on this one, these are the optional LED headlights. Very nice looking, and they have the L-shaped daytime running light. Down below, we've got LED fog lights as well. Its longer length for 2016 is accentuated by a lot of artistic line work you see here. Origami is one word I'd put to it, and I said that before when we reviewed the RX450H, and it really does carry through. This color shows it a lot better. Now on the F Sport, you have 20-inch wheels. Those are the largest wheels you can get on this right now, and believe it or not, they actually don't look like they're all that large. Sometimes you get 20s or 22s on these vehicles and they almost look too big, but here they seem almost perfectly proportioned to the vehicle. Out here at the back of the RX350, the drama continues, and the most notable bit of that is up here with this floating roof design. Now, this is an element that a lot of the Japanese manufacturers have been doing in the last year or two with a number of vehicles out there. This one, though, has a genuine glass panel that separates that and gives it the look. There's a real window in there, so at least there's a little bit of reality where some of them are using a black trim piece to create that illusion. Now, back here, no illusion. You've got a lot of creases, a lot of artwork going on here. You've got the spindle design from the grille replicated here in the rear deck. Nice LED tail lamps. Down here on the lower fascia, there's a lot going on as well. You've got dual exhausts with big tips and a nice sculpted lower piece down there that really gives it an aggressive look. Generally speaking, I've considered Lexus to have some of the best interiors in the business, so it's probably not going to be a big shock that I'm going to say a lot of positive things here. But one thing I need to point out is that out of all the Lexus interiors, the RX in the past hasn't had one of the best of the Lexus interiors. In fact, it used to be my least favorite Lexus interior. That is, until now. What they've done here by lengthening the wheelbase and lengthening this vehicle, they've created a completely different feel from behind the wheel than the old RX. Now, the old RX, it felt sort of like a minivan from behind the wheel. This, a lot longer, that windshield's further away from you, and so the overall feel, not only in the size of it, but in concert with this new horizontal dash design, feels much more like a sports sedan from behind the wheel. And even though you still have that high-up SUV feeling, it's just a lot more horizontal, a lot more like you're sitting in a car. It's just a lot more comfortable and spacious feeling, so I like that. And the view here through the steering wheel to the instrument cluster, it has an instrument cluster design that's very similar to the IS sedans. Although it doesn't have the sliding dial, it's still very attractive to look at. And the steering wheel in this one is an F Sport steering wheel, which means it has a sportier look. It has the paddle shifters on it, and the controls here always very well done. These seats are also very comfortable. They're power. I've got memory here. These are the F Sport seats. They've got perforated leather. Here in this particular one, I've got heated seats and ventilated seats up front, and they can be set on auto to be tied in with the HVAC. So they're always doing whatever it's doing, which is kind of a cool feature. They're firm sports seats. They're going to hold you pretty tight, but they're comfortable enough that you can sit in them all day long, and that really is, that's the magic formula, I think. Now, as I sit here, it's well laid out and designed. The center stack here, all the controls for the HVAC are right there. Some of them you're going to find up there on the screen, but you don't need to go into that menu system to use your HVAC controls. Even the volume knob and the tuning knob for the audio system right there in hard controls, and that's always a good thing. There's a nice large phone space right up here in the console. It's easy to get to and reach. Plugs right there for plugging it in, as well as down here in the center console you've got auxiliary and the USB and another power port down there. And there's pretty good storage in here as well. If you're a regular viewer of my videos, you know we've been back here just recently. I reviewed the RX450H Hybrid, and very much like that vehicle, it's a very comfortable, spacious place back here. These seats here, about halfway forward to halfway back, and as you can see, I've got lots of room. They could come back quite a ways, and I really wouldn't be impacted. The one thing I point out though here is this seat is somewhat low. You can see my legs are perched up just a little bit, not a real natural position, but I do have lots of adjustments to play with here. The seat slides forward and back, and there's a rake adjustment here for the back, and both of those are good because if you have smaller passengers back here, you can push this seat up to actually make more space back there in the back. That's pretty good. There's also a fold down armrest here, and this one actually has a pretty sizable storage area here down in the side, and it's closable, so if you're on a trip again, you can stow things away. HVAC vents, always nice whether it's cold or whether it's hot to have air delivered right back here, and they're pretty strong. Now, there aren't any controls back here, and there aren't any USB ports. The rear seats fold down in a 60-40 split using a conveniently located lever at the rear cargo area. They fold nearly flat, and there is a power folding option available if this is too much work for you. Under the rear deck is also additional storage and a temporary spare tire. This is an interior, as I said at the outset, that I really do like now. It's just as good as every other Lexus interior. In fact, I think it's one of the best now. Materials, switchgear, design, everything just works. 5 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here has been completely revamped for 2016, and the best part about it is it's now available with this large 12.3-inch screen. And it's a good thing it's big because it's far away and it's not a touch screen. It actually has a puck down here on the center console with a couple of buttons that you can use to navigate. And I've always thought this puck's one of the best in the business because it's got tactile feel to it. When you move it around on the screen, you can feel bumps here in the puck that correlate with the buttons on the screen, and it actually has enough resistance that it keeps you from overshooting your menu buttons when you hit bumps. And I love it. The larger screen actually makes visibility much better this year as well, and that is an option, of course, but you have to get it if you get one of these things. You just have to. And this also has the Mark Levinson audio system. Again, if you're buying a Lexus, spend the money. It's a lot. It's over $3,000 here to get the Mark Levinson, but the sound is phenomenal. So, you know, this is a 5-star infotainment system, except for one thing, and that's the fact that as good as it is, they don't yet have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I'm now using that as part of my scoring now. It's because it's becoming industry standard, and well, I expect that now, especially in these high-end systems. So infotainment here still gets 4 out of 5 stars. Under the hood for 2016 is a more powerful version of the company's 3.5-liter V6, now with direct fuel injection, which bumps the horsepower to 295 and the torque now at 267 pound-feet. That power is delivered now with more gears than before with an 8-speed automatic transmission. It comes in both front-wheel and all-wheel drive. Ours had all-wheel drive. All right, so we're going to accelerate here. I've got this in Sport Mode Plus and manual. So here we go. And 60. I put it back over in automatic. Well, first thing is very smooth, very refined, sewing machine smooth, and well, I would have expected that in this vehicle. This 3.5-liter engine's always been very refined in its class, and now that it has direct injection, it remains so, and that's a good thing because a lot of times these things tend to lose a little bit of their smoothness when you go from port to direct injection. It's just something that happens. Now this transmission shifts pretty well on its own, and it shifts pretty well manually. Paddle shifters, they're still toys. It still will not shift unless it just wants to. The computer will override what you ask it to do sometimes. Now, when it comes to fuel economy, during my week with it, including driving like this and testing it, I got 24 mpg for the week, which is pretty good because 22 is what's promised. And when you consider that this has all-wheel drive, pretty fully loaded with options, it's pretty heavy. That's pretty good to get 22, but 24 is even better, and well, that's good performance when you consider the overall picture of things. The power, still a little bit on the lazy side, but this is a very heavy vehicle. But overall, I give the powertrain 5 out of 5 stars. driving this thing around town and out here on the highway, I can really notice the difference with the longer wheelbase that this has now. It's a lot more stable feeling. It doesn't have quite the pitching and rolling effect that the old RX was really known for, and it just really feels, well, it's always felt of quality, but it continues to feel of quality. It's just a nice stable feel, and it's very quiet. It's a very peaceful existence behind the wheel of this vehicle, and it's something that you could take on a road trip and really sit here all day long in comfortably, because there's just not a lot going on that's going to wear you out. Very little wind noise, road noise, very, very low, even though I'm on a noisy patch of road here that I always test on. Tire noise, even with the F Sport tires here, very impressive. Now, the handling, this has the adaptive sport suspension. You can click it over here to Sport Plus, and it immediately firms up the suspension. You get more response, the steering gets tighter, and so that enables you to have a little bit of fun, get beyond the cushy marshmallow driving experience that you normally expect here. Now, is it a sports car? No, it still pushes a little bit in the corners, and it's still soft like a crossover you'd expect it to be, but it's a bit more sporting than the normal base level ride. So I like having that, being able to switch it back and forth, and you can really feel the difference too. But the real test of any crossover or SUV is off the pavement. On the desert washboard road, always a good place to see how well these things are put together, because this washboard surface can really cause a lot of vibrations that can make even some of the best vehicles out there feel less than good. What I'm finding out here is this is actually very impressive out here. The suspension and chassis, solid as can be, very little in the way of vibrations through the suspension and the steering, no kickback or rattling, and that's a good thing. I am getting a little bit of rattling in some of the interior trims in here, but the best thing is even with these 20-inch wheels that are on the F Sport package here, this has a pretty good composure out here. I'm pretty impressed, very impressed, in fact. Therefore, all in, chassis gets 5 out of 5 stars. Quality for the RX350 has always been one of its hallmarks, and this one held up its bargain with excellent body fit, good materials inside and out, and super smooth paint work. There were a few rattles inside over the rougher roads, but quality score comes in at 5 of 5 stars. Safety, also a high point here, earning a top Safety Pick Plus rating from the IIHS, where it achieves good on their full battery of crash tests. It also has available a sophisticated crash avoidance safety package called Lexus Safety System Plus. Well, friends, wrapping it up for the RX350 F Sport, let's have a look at the specs. Now, the first thing here is we saw 24 miles to the gallon. Pretty good for a vehicle like this, especially with all-wheel drive. Now, I'll point out that that's only a few less than we got with the hybrid we tested just a month or so ago. So I think that's pretty impressive overall, and it is 2 more than what's promised by the window sticker. Now, price on this one, $58,000 and some change. That does seem like a lot of money, but that's really the sweet spot for this vehicle. We do have roughly $9,000 to $10,000 of options here, so it could be down right around $50,000 if you got a basic one. Now, when I look at value, it's always tough to put a value on luxury consumer goods because it's not a necessity. It's not like we've got a Corolla and we're putting it up against its competitors and what kind of features are you getting for the money. But you really sort of have to do the same thing unless you have a really big preference for this vehicle, and that's just what you're getting. So you can look at the BMW X5, you can look at the Mercedes-Benz, their SUV in this class, and sort of see what you get for the money. But those are really different animals in a lot of ways than this is. This is really almost sort of its own orbit in the market. So overall, I put value at 4 stars. When you put that together with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4.5 stars for the review. Pretty good. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. You know, having spent a good amount of time in this vehicle now, as well as the RX450h, I can see why this is the best-selling Lexus out there, and it's because even though it's not a sports sedan, it's not their top luxury car, it really exemplifies everything Lexus is about. It's quiet, it's very well built, it's refined, and it's a comfortable place to be. It's not a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW, and it really isn't trying to be. If anything, Lexus has achieved that place where they are what they are. They have their own personality, they're cut from their own cloth, and that makes them what they are. And that I think is what really has made the Lexus brand so strong. It smells like a Lexus when you get inside, it sounds and it feels like one. And now when you get into one Lexus to the other, they've all got that same thing going, and that's harder to achieve for a car brand than it sounds. Anyway, if you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right here on your screen and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do test drive 1 to 2 cars a week, plus we have a new video almost every day, always something new. So stay tuned.